Hey, Homestead Prepper. Okay, today's project is going to be how to hook up a welder or plasma cutter, and I'll save the fine details toward the end of the video. I'm sure a lot of y'all would like to get down to the brass tacks here and see the nuts and bolts of it, how it all goes together and how I did it. So one thing I think you should do anytime you tackle an electrical job, or really any type of job, is you should lay it out. And what I've done is I've got everything laid out here, and I'll go over that with you. Just some simple tools. That's a 5/16 nut driver, hand tools, level, drill. This is actually a rain-tight enclosure for an RV. And what I did is I pulled that receptacle out of there and I put this one in here. This is what is going to feed that Versa 60 that we're hooking up. This is a 50 amp 2-pole receptacle, and it's rated for 250 volts. We're going to put 240 volts on it. That's going to go in there, and it's going outside. There's a hole right here. We're going to use this knockout seal to fill that. I've got some reducing washers here in case when we knock this out, this is too big. Of course, I'm not going to have to worry about it because I'm using 1-inch conduit. I've got some self-tapping screws. I've got some 1-hole EMT straps. I've got some bushings right here. And I've got some 1-inch EMT compression connectors. Now I'm using these because we're doing this outside. And I'm also using 1-inch EMT conduit. I really don't like using PVC on the outside, especially of a metal building, because it will sag and it looks crappy and then it looks unprofessional. I've got a, this is a rigid 3/4 inch bender, which that's for rigid conduit, or it'll work for 1-inch EMT. Okay, well, let's get this thing knocked out right here. I've got to put a dog leg there and on the other end because there's an offset. It's not exactly flat here. It's got to come out a little bit, so I'll show you how to do that. Well, let's get this show on the road. Okay, the best way I can show you to put a dog leg on here is just to get up here and just do it. It's going to be easier to show it up here than it is on the ground. Real simple. I put a mark on this side and I've got one on the other side. So what we're going to do, come back about 1 inch, and we'll just put a little kick on it. Rotate it 180 degrees, come back a little bit, put that mark straight up in the air, and it'll make a nice little dog leg, an offset. Turn that around. Of course, you have to make sure you do the right end here. It'll be twisted and it will be upside down and it'll look funny. So, alright, so we do the same thing there. Put that like that. Just turn that around. This mark is up in the air. And that should do it. Let's take it and see how well we did. I'll be able to do this with one hand. Okay, here's my offset, see that? And we're flat. You can see this, I am flat up against this, right there toward the end. Alright, so I just need to put a connector in right there, put some straps, put a level on here, and we can get this thing mounted. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put these things on. And we'll go ahead and tighten it up. You want that nice and tight. There. That's pretty good. And we'll do the same to the other end. Right, we'll go ahead and knock this out. These are needle nose. Now I'm making sure that I'm moving the wires away from there because I don't want to hit into them. And what you do is you just twist it out. And you can screw up and knock the whole thing out. Just rock it back and forth and it'll come out. There we go. Put a lock ring on there. You just put it on there snug for right now. And then what we're going to do, we'll put our level on right here. That's actually where I want to put the strap at. You can see that. That nice and level. Now some people like to put the straps up here. I don't like to do that. I like to put them down here. That way it holds it up. It's not going to pull it down. And we'll try this left-handed. Okay, well there we go. We got part of it done already. All we need to do is come down here and mount this box here and level it. But the problem is we don't have a knockout right here, so we're going to have to make one. I'm going to have to get a box of holes out of the truck. Okay, I didn't have a box of holes out in the truck, but I do have this. This is my 1-inch unibit. It makes a 1-inch grade size hole for electrical. Alright, one hole. Well, I hope we put it on the right side. The correct side. Okay. Of course, we got a problem right here. We're going to have to move that so that we can ground it. That would have to be there. Okay, you want to make sure that this lock ring is on there nice and tight. On there pretty good. You put a bushing on here. And you do the same to the other side. And we're ready to pull some wire. If y'all have seen some of my other electrical videos, I usually put a fish tape and some soap and stuff like this, but this is a short run and it's straight. We shouldn't have too much resistance. I've just taped the wires together. There's nothing special in there. You just put that in there like that, and I'm just going to push it in by hand, just like that. If we get lucky, it should just pop out the other end over there. We'll do this in real time here. And we'll see if we can get that thing to pop out on the other end, because it is straight. Oh, there we go. Okay, guys, well, that was pretty easy. Alright, we're going to hook the wires up to this thing. This right here is the ground. This is a hot, and that's a hot. That's 120, that's 120, that's 240. And like I said, that is your ground. Look on the back here. The bottom one goes to the ground. It'll even say green right there. And then the hots, it doesn't matter which way they go on this single phase application. So as long as you put the ground where the green is, and you're good to go. So let's get that hooked up. And we have to run the ground to that, and then from that to this, and I'll show you how that looks. I left a little extra in here in case that ever has to be changed out. It's always good to leave a little free conductor sticking out. Usually they say 6 to 8 inches. Some places might want 12. Always push a little bit of that back. And I want to say that I've got this mounted this way so that that's actually code right there. Now some jurisdictions will only accept this. It actually plugs in better if it goes like this because the cord goes down instead of the cord having to go up and fight against this. So you have to, like I said, always check with your local jurisdiction to make sure you're up to all the latest codes. And also these have to be torqued. Make sure you torque those down to the right specifications. Other than that, I think it looks pretty good. So we're going to put this back together and then we'll hook up the breaker. I got this grounded right here. If you look, I've got the wires, they come up like that and they go into this breaker. And the reason I do that is if this panel ever has to be changed out and it's a little farther over to the breakers, we don't have to run a new wire or put a junction box or anything like that. We can just use the wire that we've got. Let's give this the smoke test. You should have the dead front on here, but I'm going to take my chances, and it didn't go boom. So let's get a meter and we'll check this over here and see if we have the proper voltage. Put that in there, cross those two like that. 246 volts. What I like to do is make sure it's good and grounded. Alright, well that tells me we got a good ground. Of course you want to go from here to here too. That was a little tougher to get in there. Touch it. There we go. So that tells me that it's grounded, and I'm going to the center pin. Do it on this side. There we go. Okay, so that's where I'm going across right there, those two. So, okay, well we got some good power here. We got our 240 volts. I'm going to do a quick overview of the installation here. Now I went oversized on the wire. I could have gotten away with a number 8 THHN. That would have worked fine in there, and a number 10 ground. I went with number 6 THHN because I just happen to have some on hand. So it's completely legal to oversize a conductor if you want to. Now, a lot of people don't do that because the National Electric Code is a code of minimum requirements. So you can exceed the code here and there. The code does have maximums on some things. You need to know where you can exceed it and where you can. But I exceeded the size of the conduit. That's 1-inch EMT conduit right there. I could have gotten away with 3/4, but I happen to have it on hand. I was going to use it up. The code also says we could have put an 80 amp breaker in there to feed that thing. That would have been legal. But 50 is what the manufacturer calls for, and that falls within the National Electric Code. So that's what I'm going to go with right there. So, okay, I just wanted to put that out there, and if any of y'all have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Homestead Prepper out.